Welcome to the GSMC Pets Podcast, the show that caters to pet lovers of all kinds. We'll talk about pets on social media, pets doing amazing things, and how to take care of the pets in your life. Whether your pet is a dog, a cat, a llama, hamster, reptile, or something more exotic, you'll find educational and entertaining information on the GSMC Pets Podcast.
Folks, we're back. Welcome to the GSMC Pet Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. I'm your host, as usual, Taylor Cowan. We've got a couple other hosts too. I shouldn't say as usual. Not the only one out there. If you've tuned in before, you've probably heard some of the others. But I'm a host too, so we'll count it. Folks, things are getting crazy out there. Good time to spend time with your pets, huh? Right? Copious amounts of time to spend with your pets. I had an interesting week. Amongst all this craziness, I think the worst thing to happen to me this week was I lost my water bottle. I left it on top of my car. I was driving down the freeway. I made it a good 10, 15 miles before I heard it clunk off my car. Really unfortunate. It was a really nice water bottle. And now, amongst all the anxiety of this virus mess, now I'm thirsty too. What a shame, right? What a shame. Oh, we're talking about pets today, folks. As always, it is the Pet Podcast after all. And specifically, what kind of dog should you get? I bet, a lot of us are cooped up in home right now and probably with nothing to do. Maybe some of us are considering getting a dog right now. I don't know if the adoption agencies are open. They got to be doing something, though. I don't know if that counts as an essential service. But we're going to talk about, what kind of dog you should get, if you should get a dog, what kind of pet you should get in general, if you're considering it now. I think now would be a great time to get a pet, honestly. You're going to have... Well, a lot of us are going to have plenty of time to be spending at home with it. Puppies, if this is the ultimate time to get a puppy, because puppies, when you get them, require utmost care and attention, nonstop care and attention, for probably more than the quarantines will last. My puppy, it took me probably, with good care, it only took me like 2 weeks to really potty train him straight, to where he never went to the bathroom inside, except in rare occasions, accidents. But yeah, consider it right now. Cats, they're easy. You can get a cat at any time. Just leave it alone. Put a pile of sand in the corner. It'll go to the bathroom there. You don't have to worry about teaching it to go outside. Or a lizard. Again, if you've listened to my previous episodes, my opinions on lizards and snakes. Not a fan. Not a big fan, folks. But you can get one of those too, and you can watch it for 2 weeks while you sit at home. Wouldn't that be fun? But we're going to start with dogs today. We're going to talk about dogs, because dogs, there's tons of different breeds. I feel like they're the most popular pet. They've got to be the most popular pet. The goldfish, maybe? But that's like a starter pet. That's what you give to a 3-year-old. He kills it with a net, takes it out of the thing, wants to play dollhouse with it. You don't want to do that. And no adult buys a goldfish, right? Adults get cool fish like betta fish and saltwater tanks with coral. But I think the average person, you think of a pet, your first thought is a dog. What a responsibility a dog is. So if you're considering getting a dog right now, amongst all this mess, if you got the time, the energy, the effort, the money, remember, it costs money to have a dog. And it ain't cheap either. Dogs, ouch, oh my gosh, I got my mustache hair stuck in the microphone and plucked one out. Uh, Dogs, they cost a lot of money. I was pleasantly surprised when I found out how much money they cost. I've got to buy food all the time. They eat a lot. If you want to do like a puppy training class, that's going to cost you a lot. If you do, tweet me. I've got some recommendations for which puppy class to take. I took mine from a major pet store, and they give you all these bonuses for taking the pet class there, and it wasn't even that expensive. It's like a 6-week program, and they gave you like a free bag of dog food and all these discounts and other stuff, and then you get a bunch of treats while you're at the dog training place, and it's a good opportunity for your puppy to socialize with other dogs right from the get-go, which is big, because you don't want to be the scary dog at the dog park that everyone wants to, that everyone's yelling at you, and you have to have a muzzle on it. Not that that's bad. Some dogs are muzzled so they don't just eat rocks and stuff. Anyways, my first dog that I got on my own, I had a family dog when I was a lot younger, but the first dog I got on my own, her name was Zima. We talked a little bit about her last time. Beautiful dog. And I was living in Brooklyn at the time, and I was, lonely and bored, and somehow I was bored in Brooklyn. And I thought it would be a good idea to go on Craigslist and go to the free section. Now, let me just say, the free section on Craigslist in New York is absolutely amazing. You can find anything you want, and it's all free. How about that? Does it get any better than that? I don't think so. But I see this beautiful 1-year-old husky. So I go pick her up. She was free, and she was like right around the corner. Turns out, 1-year-old strange huskies are not well suited for Brooklyn apartments. Can you imagine that? Very untrained. And the guy who gave her to me, keep an eye out for this when you're picking up a dog, especially a free one. He said he had to get rid of her because he was moving in like a week, which turned out to be a lie. I saw him around the neighborhood. I actually ran into his mother, who he lived with, and she told me that he, in fact, didn't have to move, that she made him get rid of the dog. Isn't that a coincidence? And I soon found out why. A lot of work. Dogs in apartments don't mix. Later in the episode, we'll talk a little bit about why, and if you do have to do it like I did, ways to mitigate the pain of the whole process, because there is a lot of pain. But huskies are great dogs, either way. They're friendly, gentle, if taken care of properly. If you're not, husky is a high, what's the word I'm looking for? A high intensity dog. How about that? It takes a lot of work, a lot of training, and it's not easy. They are not easily trained. You have to tire them out. What I ended up having to do is teach my dog how to run alongside me on a bicycle, just to tire him out enough so that I could sleep at night. Anyways, you'll have to get up really early. There's a lot with a husky. They're not an easily trained dog. Harder to train than the dog I have now, which is a shepherd. Huskies are smart. They're super intelligent. Mine was named Zima, not after the bubbly 90s beer, but after I looked it up and it meant winter in Slavic, and she was a beautiful winter dog. Huskies are winter dogs. They're white. Super high energy. I could not do anything without, I couldn't leave. I couldn't go to work. It really caused a lot of problems for me. I had to have a roommate there, like at all times with her. They can't really be left alone. In fact, if you get a husky, I recommend getting 2 huskies because they like to play. They like to play with each other, and if they get bored, they get destructive. Extremely destructive. I tried putting mine in a crate, and she just, clawed her way out. And then I got a better cage with, it was kind of a fence-like cage, and she just ripped up the entire carpet that was underneath the cage. You can't cage them up. They're not that kind of dog. We're already ready for our first break. Wow, this just is zooming by. Afterwards, I'm going to tell you more about Zima, more about what dogs you should consider, maybe what breed is you, What breed suits your soul. So stick around. We're going to take a quick break here. I'll talk to you in a second.
Are you tired of the same old news? Are you sick of the seemingly endless political spin and negativity? The GSMC America's Still Beautiful podcast is a weekly news podcast covering all the top positive and uplifting news stories. We cover stories that will inspire, uplift, and remind you of the good in the world. Tune into the Golden State Media Concepts America's Still Beautiful podcast to get all the great and positive news stories of today. Download the GSMC America's Still Beautiful podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, Google Play, or anywhere you find podcasts. Just type GSMC in the search bar.
All right, folks, we're back. I was just telling you about my dog Zima in New York. Let me tell you just about having a dog in an apartment a little bit more. So, small space. If you want to get a dog and you live in an apartment, presumably you don't have a backyard. So you will have to actually, physically walk them to take them outside, use the bathroom. That can become rather tedious, and it ends up taking up more time than one would expect. It was definitely more time than I expected. As it ended up turning out, as I didn't really want a dog. I wanted something to hang out with all the time. And I thought a dog would be a good solution to that problem. It's not. Before you get a dog, really consider if you want a dog. Because it turns out I didn't. So what I ended up having to do is, before I had Zima in the apartment, my schedule was wake up at about 11 a.m., get on the subway, go to work, come home, have a beer or something, and hang out with my roommates. Zima changed all of that. My schedule soon switched to wake up at 6 a.m., go to the park, where fortunately I found another group of big dog owners, big apartment dog owners who they all met at the same time every day, around 6:30, 7. And it was a good release for her. Do that, take her home, put her in her kennel where she would bark all day and bother the neighbors. It's great. Landlord was pissed. And then I'd come home from work and I'd have to go on a good 10-mile bike ride to appease her, if that was enough. And it's hard to bike with a dog in New York City. There's a lot of people, right now it would be perfect. Right now it would be a beautiful time to bike with a dog in New York City, just right in the middle of the street. Anyways, it wasn't at the time. Things were different then. So, bike for a good 5 to 10 miles, come home, feed, and, when you get a dog, you gotta go get dog food, probably take her out to the bathroom again. Whole ordeal. And she wasn't well trained, and I thought I could train her, but I didn't know what to do at the time. I had never done a dog training before. I'd never had my own dog up until that point, so I had no idea what I was clueless. And if you don't know the techniques of training a dog, it's not, what's the word I'm looking for? It's not self-evident on how to train a dog. They don't just sit. you know. It took me forever to get my most recent puppy to sit, and that was with, in a puppy training class. He was actually pretty good. He was pretty easy trained. Not as easy as my first family dog, but easy enough. So consider that. If you're going to get a dog, you live in an apartment, consider, if you're a homebody, it's probably not a good choice. Now, granted, I had a Siberian Husky, which is a hyperactive, jump-around dog. Maybe try a Shih Tzu or something, like a small Chihuahua. That's why all those New York celebrities have those little dogs that they hold around in their purse and carry around in their arm, like it's an accessory, because they're just easier in apartments. And with those, you can teach them to go to the bathroom on a little pad. It's no big deal. It's easy to take care of. So consider that. Before you get a dog in an apartment, think to yourself, is this what I want? Would a cat be better? Cats don't need to go outside. Some want to, but they don't. It's not a necessity. And once they're indoor cats, they don't want to go outside anyways. They like their privacy, or their homebodies themselves. If you're a homebody, get a cat. If you're in an apartment, consider a smaller dog. Now, if you're a really active person and you live in an apartment and you're going to go out a lot, and you go on a lot of hikes or something, you live in LA, you're going to go hike out to the observatory, whatever, but you live in an apartment, then consider getting a big dog, because they have a lot of energy. And if you can get it out and they can do it with you, you're going to have a really great time. You're going to build a really good relationship. And I, personally, I prefer big dogs. They're fuzzier, they're cuddlier, they seem to be smarter. No offense to the small dogs, but I don't know. I don't meet very many small dogs that will sit or lay down or do anything you tell them to. They kind of just run around in circles and pee a little bit when you pick them up. Which no one wants that. No one wants that. But in an apartment, could be perfect. They have little pads. So before you get a dog, make sure you really want a dog. And do you have the right space to have a dog? Do your research. Lots of research before you get a dog. Do you have enough time for a dog? Puppies need training. Training takes time. And you have to be super consistent or they won't learn. Luckily, when I got my most recent dog, I had a lot of time at home. So it turned out easy. Turned out well-ish. He's still got his little quirks. He gets really excited and doesn't want to listen all the time, but that's part of having a young dog, I think. They need to be socialized. Do you got enough time to take them around other dogs? That's where a good puppy class comes in really well, because they'll get the time to socialize with other dogs while they're young. Because if they don't, they can be aggressive when they get older, and you don't want that. You don't want an untrained, aggressive dog. It's not good. My dog Zima was not the best socialized. She came around, but at first it was kind of a mess. Can you afford a dog? We just talked about this. Food. Food's expensive, and you're going to end up buying more than you think, I promise you. Vet fees. That was the kind of unexpected thing for me. When I got my most recent dog, even, I wasn't really thinking well, you got to take it to the vet once a year, get shots, and then if they eat a stick or something, oh man. My dog Zima, the New York dog, while I lived in New York, ate a piece of a leash or something and ended up having to be hospitalized. She was there for a few nights. There went my tax return. Entire tax return gone. And there is insurance you can get. I don't know if it's worth it. I've never done it. I just try and keep a close eye, make sure they don't eat anything bad. But, some dogs get sick too, just regular sickness. You gonna be home? You might have to take work off for your dog if he's sick enough. Go to the vet. Do you have children? Not all dogs love children. And not all dogs are good with other dogs. My buddy has a couple of German Shepherds. He can't take it to the dog park. They get aggressive with every dog there. It's kind of frightening. let's talk about more dogs in just a little bit here, what kind of dog you want to get. We're going to get more into the breeds, different types of breeds, what you might like. Like I said, we're going to find out what dog suits your soul. So we're going to take a quick break. I'll be back in just a minute, and we'll talk more dogs. See you then.
Tired of searching the vast jungle of podcasts? Now listen close and hear this out. There's a podcast network that covers just about everything that you've been searching. Hey! The Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network is here. Nothing less than a podcast bliss with endless hours of podcast coverage. From news, sports, music, fashion, cooking, entertainment, fantasy, football, and so much more. So stop lurking around and go straight out to the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. Guaranteed to fill that podcast itch. Whatever it may be. Visit us at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter, and download us on iTunes, SoundCloud, and Google Play.
We are back, folks. We've been talking a lot about my dog Zima. Why, at the time, I wasn't ready for a dog. And I'm going to tell you about my more recent experience with the dog. I still lived in an apartment, this time in Utah. And it's kind of the same thing. I had 2 cats who were young, and foolish me was like, hey, I want to get a dog, and I want them to be friends with the cats, so I should get them while they're young, and he's young, and they'll be friends. They're kind of friends. He will kind of chase him around. They'll kind of get close to each other and have a weird stare-down thing, and then it turns into a standoff. But it wasn't like I was hoping. They don't nuzzle up together on the couch like I had expected. But this experience with the dog was much, much better. I got this dog not when he was a year old, but when he was a puppy from another family online. This time I paid for him. They had gotten him for Christmas, couldn't keep him. So I said I'd take him off their hands. He is a herding dog. And he's a lot better because I took him to the classes. I did all the things I needed to do. I trained him well. I was there. I didn't work as much at the time. Trained him well. Now, are you considering getting a dog right now? And what kind of dog are you considering getting? I have a border collie right now. Border collie mix. I'm not exactly sure what he's mixed with, but he's a little active for me, for my lifestyle, I've come to find. I got him expecting that I would become more active. Don't do that. It's not going to happen. And your dog will resent you for it. Get a dog that suits your lifestyle. There's 7 types of dogs. There are herding, sporting, non-sporting, working, hounds, terriers, and toy breeds. And this is good to know before you get a dog, because this can kind of help you choose which dog will suit your lifestyle most. What are you getting a dog for? Companionship? Do you want a service animal of some sort? Like, what do they call them? Emotional support dogs? Do you want it to guard your house, to actually herd? If you're getting a herding dog, I assume you know what you're in for already. And you're going to train it well, and it's going to chase the sheep around. My dog wishes it had sheep to chase around. And frankly, so do I. I love my dog. He's a herding dog, but they make good house pets too. If you have a big backyard and have a lot of energy to expend. You can take him on a lot of walks, take him to the dog park a lot. That's good. If you're on a farm, even better. But they're super smart, super athletic, and easily trainable. That was one difference I've noticed between my Border Collie and the Husky. The Husky is a little more headstrong and doesn't necessarily take to the training as well as my Border Collie does. Anyways, all these different types of dogs, they have all different characteristics. Terriers are good house dogs. Like I said, a good apartment dog is the toy breeds. I'm wondering about these toy breeds. When did they come to fruition? How long have they been around? Because we selectively breed dogs to look a certain way and act a certain way and have certain traits. I'm wondering when the toy was created, when the first toy came into being. And why is the Chihuahua so associated with Mexico? Is that like a Mexican dog? I don't know. These are all questions that, if you're listening, answer them on the Twitter, because I'm very curious. If you got a Border Collie like me, you got to spend a lot of time with it outside. Take it to the dog park a lot. I take mine to the dog park all the time. And we will spend, he could spend all day there if I'd let him. But there's times where we spend 2 hours there before. And he comes home and he's still a little hyperactive. We can take my dog on a 12-mile run, and he's good to go. So Border Collie is for a more active person. What fits your needs best depends on you. Small, mid-sized, large dogs, it's not so much like their behavior that you're worried about, it's their human requirements. Like I said, large dogs, usually you got to go outside a lot. You got to do a lot of energy stuff. Small dogs, easy. I find small dogs to be a trip hazard. Or manipulative. They're very manipulative. I'm kidding. I like small dogs. Now, I used to not like them. My brother got a few, and they grow on me. They'll grow on you over time, too. If you don't think you like small dogs, maybe give them a chance. Especially if you heed my advice and you're living in an apartment or something and you think you want a big dog, but maybe a small dog would be more suited, and I think you'll be happy with it. It's just way, way easier. Another good thing to look for is, are you allergic to dogs? Long-haired dogs are cause more allergies than short-haired dogs. Simple, right? And it's not actually because of their hair, I learned. It's because when they go outside, they pick up all this dander and pollen in their hair, and it affects you in that way. It's outside forces, interestingly enough. It's not the actual dog you're allergic to. And I think the same goes for cats. So next time someone says they're allergic to the dog, tell them that. Say, no, you're just allergic to nature. Anyways, consider if you want a small, large dog, mid-size, and also how much food you're going to be. The money comes in here again, too. Typically, I'm going to say if you live in an apartment in a city where you would want a small dog, you're probably strapped for cash anyways. You probably want a dog that's not going to eat as much. And that is a nice thing about small dogs, is a bag of food lasts forever. You have to get the small bags, or they get all dry and nasty. You don't want to give that to your dog, right? We're going to take a quick break here, and we'll be back in just a moment. I'll talk to you then.
Is weird, odd, strange, or just plain bizarre is really your cup of tea? Then the Golden State Media Concepts Weird News Podcast will give you that fix. Can't believe it? Well, listen for yourself as we deliver the strangest news you definitely won't find on CNN or Fox. It's the Golden State Media Concepts Weird News Podcast.
And we're back, my friends. Still talking about dog breeds, which one's right for you. You've probably decided already by this point. It's pretty straightforward, I think. It's not that hard. We could talk about cats, but I feel like all cats are the same. I've heard those weird hairless ones are a little smarter, and you can do cool stuff with them, like train them a little more. And then there's like those giant Maine Coons is what they're called. I think they're the biggest breed of house cat you can get. But yeah, pretty straightforward. You got a big space, you're very active, you want a big dog, you got some money, get a big dog, feed it well, treat it right. Vet bills will be more expensive too. You live in an apartment, get a small dog. Easy. Doesn't eat much. Best friend in the world. And they're not typically as smart, let's be honest. They're not as trainable as a big dog, but you can still train it to do the basics. And I've seen some of them, they do little dances. You can get them on their hind legs, and they do a little jig or something for a treat. That's fun. I've always wanted one of those, what are those dogs with the dreads? I forget what they're called, but they've got the big dreads that probably stink really bad. Those always seem fun. I hear they're really smart too. I think they're water dogs. Anyways, let's talk about what kind of, maybe a cat's right for you. This is another apartment for the apartment people out there. Consider a cat over a dog. You never have to take them out. The most you have to do is empty their litter box into a trash can, which is the worst part. I don't love doing that with my cats. I've got 2 cats, and that's probably the least fun part about having a cat, but they're so easy. They're so easy, so perfect for an apartment. You wouldn't believe it. You would not believe it. And kind of the same with dogs. You want to socialize them well. In fact, I recommend, again, like a husky, getting 2. Get 2 dogs, or not 2 dogs, 2 cats. Because then they'll socialize with each other. They'll have something to do all day. And I've noticed when people have only 1 cat, it tends to be a little reclusive. I don't know if that's just anecdotal. That's probably just my experience. But that's what I've noticed. And I'm going to say, let them outside. They tell you not to do this at the pet shop when you get them. But I am breaking the rules today. And I'm saying, let them go. Let them have a little freedom. It's like your children, one day they get old enough and you gotta let them go. You gotta open your hands and let them go free into the wild. And they will come home. You will be surprised. They might be gone for 12 hours, but they'll come home. Sometimes they won't. But that's besides the point. That's extenuating circumstances. If you're feeding them right, and you live in a semi-safe, I wouldn't do this in the city. This is maybe not very apartment friendly to let them outside, but, if you got a house and you got cats, let them go. Let them explore. Let them be free in the world, because they'll be a lot happier. And they'll get tired. They'll come home. They'll rest. They'll come cuddle on your lap. And it's kind of cool when I'm walking around the street and then my cat just like pops out of a bush. And it's like, hey, what's up? Yeah, I was just taking a walk too. It's a big deal. What are you up to? Yeah, I'm going to go do whatever I want again. But, cats, I've noticed, I had a cat, and I'd go outside, I'd sit on the porch, and he'd walk by and totally snub me. Like, usually, certain times of the day, he'd come to me, but if it was like the middle of the day, and I think it was because there's other cats about, and he didn't want to get caught looking soft in front of the other tough neighborhood cats. Because street cats are tough. I'll tell you what, you let your cat out on the street, and he comes back, he's going to have like a cut in his ear, and he's going to be, he might have a goo coming out of his eye or something. They get in fights. Well, that's the fun of it. You want your cat to be a tough guy, not a wimpy house cat who just rolls over and plays with a ball of yarn. You want your cat to be out on the street, like a prisoner. That's what I think. That's my personal opinion. You can take that as you will. And then the fact of the matter is I'm usually wrong. 99% of the time, I'm wrong about what to do with your animals. Except, for picking breeds, like today's topic. Today I'm right, all right? Anyways, if you decide to get cats, keep in mind, same thing with costs. I thought they were pretty cheap, but I looked it up, and the average cost of having cats turns out to be more expensive. Somehow, I think it might be all the sand you have to buy, all the kitty litter. Cats, they like to drink running water, so you might have to buy a little water fountain thing. My cats, they'll hardly drink just stagnant water. I can't just put water in a bowl and have them drink it. It has to be flowing. Sometimes I turn on the sink, and they'll hop up on the sink and drink from that. And that's how I kind of figured that out. I looked it up, and it's true. They like running water. They don't like stagnant water, which is good. It's a good self-defense mechanism. Stagnant water usually has diseases and whatnot in it. You need that. Cats and toys, I don't know. I've bought my cats a million toys, and they don't ever seem to play with them. I don't even think they really like them. So, you can go that route if you want. The laser pointer, I think, is the only cat toy you really need. I'll get them a new toy, they'll play with it for a day, and then it never gets touched again. And then the ball of yarn actually is a great toy. The classic. You see it on the kids' shows and grandma's house. Ball of yarn cat. They do love that. For a day. Like I said, a day until it's unraveled. And then it's just a mess on your floor. In fact, invention idea for any of you out here. I'm giving this one away for free. The self-rolling ball of yarn for a cat. So they unroll it, they unravel it, and then somehow it contracts back into a ball. If you can invent that, you can have it. You don't even have to put my name on the package or on the patent. Tweet me though if you do. Send me a message and be like, hey man, thanks. You made a new career for me. And then, get on Shark Tank or something so I can see you. I'd like to know what my fruits have wrought. Anyways, sand, fountain, toys, not a big expense in my opinion. Cats, you kind of have to get them wet food. I don't think you have to, but I was reading that cats get most of their moisture, not necessarily from water, but from their food they eat. So that's why wet food is a big thing with cats, and they just love it. So that's a little extra expensive, and it doesn't go as far. It's like one can is probably 75 cents or something, which can add up over time, especially if you give them a can a day. But the hard food's pretty cheap. And then, I don't know about vet bills and cats. I've taken my cats to the vet once, and it wasn't that expensive. It's kind of a hassle. Really taking your cats anywhere is not fun. Because I don't know if you've had a cat before. When they get startled, you end up bleeding. It's this amazing thing that happens with cats. You startle them, you bleed. So yeah, you live in an apartment, consider cats instead of a dog. They're way easier. Or, I guess you could get a lizard or a snake or something scary like that will sit there and watch you with its eyes across the room, waiting for its chance. Ugh. Anyways, hey, stick around. We'll be right back. We got a lot more to talk about today. I'll see you in just a second.
The Golden State Media Concepts Travel Podcast, the show that gives you advice on everything travel. We explore places you've always wanted to go, as well as giving tips for traveling in those places. We'll give you advice on the best sites for travel tips, information, and discounts. Join us as we travel the world, explore cultures, and meet new people. The Golden State Media Concepts Travel Podcast has got you covered. Download the GSMC Travel Podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, Google Play, or anywhere you find podcasts. Just type GSMC in the search bar.
All right, we are back, and pretty near the end here. This has gone by so quick every time. I'm going to miss you until next week, but we still got 2 segments left, so we'll save our goodbyes for later. So you got a dog now. Let's say you went out and you had a dog during the break. What do you do with it? First, call up Petco. Sign your dog up for the puppy training classes. You will not regret it. It's a weird thing. You have to go and be with all these other new dog owners, and some of them are weird. I'm not a super people person with strangers, especially dog strangers. Like, I don't know about you, but when I go to the dog park, I don't really want to talk to anybody. Sometimes there'll be like a cute girl there, and I'll go talk to her. Yeah. But that's besides the point. Most of the people at the dog park, the ones who approach you and want to talk, 9 out of 10 times I don't want to talk to you. I'm sorry. And there's a certain type of person at the dog park who always wants to talk. They usually have some sort of vest on, and they've got a million dog accessories, and they want to talk about the breed and talk about this and that and what you do, what you feed it, and what. No, let me just throw this ball, and you go stand over there. That's just me, though. I'm a curmudgeon. But those are the types you'll usually find in the puppy classes. But you'll also meet some new people, and maybe your dogs will become friends. Maybe you'll become friends. There was one girl at the dog puppy class I went to who was basically a dog nanny, and she had this. It was like a $10,000 dog, this like specialty breed. There's only a few in the world, according to her. I'm like, what are you doing at Petco? Aren't you at like the Superior Dog Academy somewhere? The Eukanuba Blue Ribbon Dog Academy. I don't know what she was doing there. And she wasn't very good at training her dog either. She wasn't very attentive. She'd always be on her phone, like scrolling through stuff. I think her dog probably turned out bad. Bad apple. Anyways, you got a new dog. Sign up for the puppy classes. I went to Petco. I don't know about PetSmarts. I'm sure they're fine. I like Petco's. They give you like a bag of dog food, all these treats. They give you a special card where you get all these discounts on all this stuff, like grooming and this and that and this and that. This is starting to sound like an advertisement for Petco's puppy classes. It's not. I genuinely recommend them. And it's a lot easier. Like I said, I didn't know how to train a dog, and it's not self-evident. So this taught me a lot of lifetime skills on how to train a dog. Like, I think next time I get it, if I ever get another dog, I might not need to take that dog to the puppy classes. I will, because you get all the sweet discounts and you get to socialize your puppy. But I'll have more knowledge on how to just train at home, what steps to take, and it's actually pretty easy. And if you got a smart dog, they're going to catch on quick. Get some toys. This is an important part. What kind of toy to get your dog? I like the Kongs. The rubber toys. The classic one is like, it looks like a little beehive made out of a thick, strong rubber. Some dogs chew through it. Some people are like, my dog can chew through anything. Yeah, sure, that's true. I don't know about some of these Kongs, though. I don't think you've tried a Kong, my friend. And it really helped me with crate training my dog, too, because it's got a hole in it. It's hollowed out. So what you do is, your dog's not going to like being in a crate at first, if you have to crate train it. And what you do is you fill it with peanut butter, put it in the freezer. This is before you leave. Put it in the freezer. It freezes the peanut butter, hardens it. And then when you leave, you have to put them in the kennel. You put them in there. You give them the frozen peanut butter toy. And that distracts them long enough to not even realize you've left. So they won't immediately start barking and howling. They might while you're away. Sorry. But it just takes time for them to get used to that lifestyle. But eventually the crate becomes their home. And they nuzzle up in the blankets. They love it. They want to sleep in there. So yeah, frozen peanut butter Kong. My advice for kennel training. There's other toys too, though. Classic tennis ball. It's going to fall apart. It's going to get lost. And don't buy your tennis balls at the dog store. They're overpriced. Sorry, Petco. I'm taking your business away now. Go to like Walmart and just get crappy regular tennis balls because they're all the same. I think some of the ones at the pet store might be a little thicker, but so what? Classic tennis ball, favorite of dogs worldwide. Except little dogs. They don't seem to enjoy the tennis ball as much. The arm. If you get the tennis ball, you're going to want to get the arm with the arm and cup. You know what I'm talking about? That gives you extra flinging power. You're going to want to get one of those. I see people with these at the dog park all the time. Their dogs love it. And they just have to stand there. And then you don't have to touch the disgusting ball that they drop out of their mouth that's covered in their slobber. And they're just dripping all over it. And it's got like this white foam all over it. You don't want to touch that. And then it's got, they drop it in the dirt, in the dog park dirt, where the dogs, defecate and stomp around on. You don't want to touch it, especially this day and age. Take the long arm and you just press it on the ball and give it a good fling. It took me a while to get that motion down. There's a very specific type of motion that is required to get the correct fling and get maximum distance. But once you got it down, your dog's going to love it. And it's a good way to wear your dog out quick. That's my favorite guy at the dog park. Is the guy who just sticks to himself. He's got his flinging arm, and he just throws his ball to his dog for 2 hours straight. Doesn't try and talk to me. Doesn't ask me any questions. Usually has sunglasses on. Great style. Other toys, you can get the cuddly, fun little, the mole or whatever they are, the stuff, the plush toys. They're not going to last long. I don't think they last very long. Some dogs do well with them, but most dogs just kill them. They tear them apart, and then they have the squeakers in them are easily choked on. I don't know why they don't have more protective squeakers. Good ones are the ones that don't have any fluff inside. You've probably seen these. They're just like long. It's like a long fox. It's got the squeaker in it still, but they're harder to rip open. Just the way they're made. I recommend those if you're going to get the plush toy. I feel like they last longer. They don't. I don't know if it's the fluff that allows them to really get in there and tear it open. If they just like it to tear it open more when it's got the fluff, but these are really hard to tear. They're good. And then there's some that are made of like an alloy, almost a fabric alloy, where it's just woven together. No dog can tear through them. I don't care if you say you have one of those dogs that he can tear through anything. I've never had a toy he can't tear through. I don't believe you. You haven't tried either the Kong or the super hyper woven fox. So keep an eye out for those when you're at the dog store. I'm trying to think. There's a few other toys. There's a plastic toy that I got for my dog, and I'm actually, I found it at a thrift store, so I'm not even sure if it's a dog toy. But it makes like a weird little noise when you roll it around, and it's a thick plastic, so you can't tear through it. He just rolls it around the yard. Great toy. I'm 99% sure it's a dog toy. I think it says Chewy on it or something. Highly recommended. Folks, we're going to take one final quick break. When we get back, I'm going to talk about more of the dog park. what I like about it, what I don't, what to look out for. We only got 10 minutes left, so we'll have to make it quick, but I could do a whole episode on the dog park, honestly. I love that place. Talk to you in a second.
Want to find out what movies to go see? Then check out the GSMC Movie Podcast. It's your ticket to the latest movies, whether it's a new blockbuster event, romantic, comedy, or action flick. This show has got it all covered. They talk some what to go see now, don't bother, what's hot on Netflix, and everything in between. That's gsmcpodcast.com/movie-podcast. When it's all about the movies, it has to be this new show. Don't forget to like them on Facebook and follow them on Twitter. Visit gsmcpodcast.com for more info.
Folks, we are back into the final moments of today's pet podcast. It's too bad, because this is basically all I got to do now. I'm quarantined. So, yeah, I don't even think we're supposed to go to the dog park anymore, but we're going to talk about the dog park anyways, because it's a very tumultuous place, I feel, the dog park. I have a love-hate relationship with it. I love taking my dog there because it's a great time for him to play with other dogs and, socialize. And I can just kind of sit back. There's benches at the dog park I go to. You just sit back, you watch your dog run around and play, or you take your long sling arm, throw the ball around a little bit. However, I kind of don't like to do that because the ball always gets taken by some other dog, and the other dog owner sometimes doesn't care at all. They just let it happen. Like, oh, hey, could I get my ball back from your dog? And they're like, oh, you just found that. Sorry, I thought you just found that. I didn't know it was yours. Like, well, come on. I don't know if the microphone picked that up. My dog's outside barking right now. Probably wants to go. There's certain dog park etiquette that I feel like many people don't understand. I understand it. And maybe I'm just the a-hole who everyone else at the dog park doesn't like. But I don't want to talk at the dog park. I'm there with my dog. I don't want to necessarily talk to you. If you go up to a person, you're talking to them at the dog park, one-word responses, it means they probably don't want to chat. They don't want to be friends. They don't want to be chums. And like I said earlier, there's a type at the dog park. And they usually are the super dog person. They got a utility belt with the baggies on it and an extra leash, and they've got a bunch of treats in their pocket, which, by the way, do not bring treats in your pocket to the dog park unless you want to get mauled. At least don't pull them out and let any other dog see you have them. A lot of them will sniff you out, and they won't leave you alone. And then the owner will come up and try and talk to you and be like, oh, you must have treats on you. You can smell them. Okay, I get it. Yes, I know. Don't do that unless you want to get mauled. And if you do, keep them concealed, highly concealed. You want an inner pocket that you put those in. And then especially, you shouldn't do this anyways, just out of to be courteous. Some people don't like their dogs eating weird snacks. Don't feed the other dogs, because you feed one, they all start to gather around. The one that you fed is never going to leave you alone. He's going to follow you. He expects more. They're kind of like vultures. And when you open your treat bag, you've become a gazelle's corpse laying in the desert, and they will all flock to you. And you're not done till you leave. That's how that works. There's a lot of different types of people at the dog park. I see the regulars, I call them. They're the ones They're always in a group, like over in the corner. They obviously come a lot. They're friends. And, maybe if I was more social, I'd go talk to them and I'd make more friends. But I don't know. It's like I said, I'm kind of solitary when I'm at the dog park. I don't really want to make friends when I'm there. I don't know about you. But, I'm not the biggest chatty Cathy. If you see me at the dog park, don't come and talk to me. How about that? Easy as that. Now, if you hear my voice for some reason, you hear me say, come. You're like, oh, hey, that's the GSMC Pet Podcast guy. Then definitely come talk to me. We'll have a great conversation. But, if I don't know you, And especially, I don't know, some people don't control their dogs. Don't come to the dog park. This is for you dog walkers out there. Don't come to there was a dog walker at the park the other day, and she had 18 dogs. Maybe not quite 18, but she had like 10 dogs. Other people's dogs. And she's like, oh, instead of walking them, I'm just going to take them to the park and let them roam around. And she ended up kicking my dog because my dog was trying to play with one of those dogs, and the other dog wasn't having it, and so I was coming, and she just got like overly frustrated. And I'm like, well, maybe if you didn't have 10 dogs here, one of them was this border collie that was just jumping over the fence of the dog park, and she'd yell at it to come back and then freak out. I'm like, there's a limit. 3 dogs at most at the dog park at a time, right, per person. And 3 is a little extensive, even, I'm going to say. You get 1 dog is totally acceptable. 2 dogs is, I think that's fine, because a lot of people have 2 dogs. 3, all right, you've reached the limit. If you have 4 dogs, maybe take them 2 by 2, separate times. But you can't handle more than 3 dogs at the dog park at once, in my opinion. You got 2 eyes, and you can really only look in one direction. You're not a chameleon. So that's my new rule. 3 dogs at the dog park, maximum limit per person, as I said. And also, sorry for you small dog people, but if you have a dog that's 5 inches tall, dog park's not your place. I'm sorry. There should be a smaller dog park for you. I know, life isn't fair. But I get worried when people bring their tiny little dogs in and just are letting them roam free. And they always have to follow it around, too, and be like, oh, careful, hey, keep your dog away from my dog. I'm like, well, why, if your dog can't play with the other dogs, why is it even here? It's not just go to the park and let your little dog run around. And watch out for owls, because one might swoop down and pick it up off the ground. No small dogs, no dogs smaller. You must be this tall to ride. And I'm going to say a foot tall. Some dogs, if you're a more stout dog, then okay, but foot to ride. Another thing, we're running out of time here, so I might do a whole episode on dogs parks next time. That's going to be the plan. Next time is a whole episode on my rules of Taylor's dog park rules. Don't bring your aggressive dog to the dog park. I see this all the time, where one dog just like riles up a whole group, and then there's a gang fight of 10 dogs, and I have to watch the owners like get in there, and they have to grab its whole body and rip it apart. And there's some things you can't control, I understand. But honestly, I kind of think you should be neutered if you're at the dog park. Sorry. If you don't want to do that, then don't take your dog to the dog park. Have a little common sense, If your dog might be aggressive, even might be aggressive, don't. Just don't. Just make it easier on all of us. And stay with your dog at home. Or find, a horse for your dog to play with. A more equal opponent. Folks, we're at the end here already. That's too bad. I was enjoying talking to you. Stick around. Next episode, we're going to do a whole list. I'm going to write a whole list of etiquette for the dog park. It'll be a little more refined than today's list. It'll probably go over a little bit about what we talked today, but a refined list of dog park rules, Taylor's dog park rules. And maybe we'll talk about, some of the people you experience at the dog park too, in a little, with more words. Anyways, folks, thanks for tuning in to the GSMC Pet Podcast, as always. Remember to go over to our Twitter page, like us on Twitter, comment to us, like us on Facebook. We're on Facebook, we're on Instagram, the big three, as I call them. Get at us at all of those. Shoot me a message if you have, maybe you're one of these dog people I'm talking about and you're kind of offended. Feel free to call me out. I'm open to constructive and non-constructive criticism. So yeah, thanks for tuning in to the GSMC Pet Podcast, brought to you by, of course, the GSMC Podcast Network. I'm your host, Taylor Cowan. You have a wonderful evening. Good night.
You've been listening to the GSMC Pets Podcast, part of the GSMC Podcast Network. You can find this show and others like it at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Download our podcasts on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, SoundCloud, and Google Play. Just type in GSMC to find all of the shows from the GSMC Podcast Network. From movies to music, from sports to entertainment, from business news to weird news. Follow us on Twitter and Facebook. Thank you, and we hope you have enjoyed today's podcast.